Hello there, lovely folks of YouTube. Ren here. Apologies in advance. It is a very windy day. You're probably going to get a lot of wind noise on the camera, on the video here, because the microphone just seems to amplify it. But yeah, this is the best opportunity I have to give you a tour of my garden here in the month of April. So we're just going to roll with it. The wind is not going to get better anytime this week. We're actually under a fire advisory until like Monday, and I fly to Chicago on Tuesday. So yeah, but anyway, April, very busy month here in my garden. There's a lot going on. I'm in the middle of doing a whole lot of winter cleanup, getting a lot of the spring weeds out of there. I'm gonna try and make this a more detailed video than I usually do. We'll see how long I remember to do that, but anyway, let's get into it. This might be a longer one, so buckle up. All right, here we go. So we are gonna start here. Let's see if I can get a little better view here. There we go. So my contorting hazel, as you can see, is starting to leaf out with that gorgeous like purple foliage that eventually turns sort of bronzy color. I've probably mentioned this before, but this is one that I literally just stumbled on as a lucky find at one of the local hardware stores. I bought it not even knowing where I was going to put it. I ended up planting it in this corner and it has completely taken over. It is massive now. Massive. Back up. Massive. So it's almost entirely taken over a good chunk of this bed, which originally was intended to be like stuff for attracting the birds. And there's still some plants here. My bird bath, of course, is here. I do have my Monardas popping up here. This is the Monarda didyma that I have over here, as well as numerous echinacea plants. There's a lot of violets back there. And I did put some new ajuga underneath, which you can maybe just barely see a couple of the blue flower spikes from that. So just because nothing was really growing under that space, and I felt like it needed something to cover that ground. So anyway, the blueberries here are filling in, so sometime in the next few weeks I'm going to have to put the bird netting over these plants. I have the two blueberries, of course, the one big one, and then a smaller one that I bought a couple years ago that's still growing. You can kind of see that's actually what looks like that big brown pile of mystery grossness is actually used coffee grounds. I come out here every morning and I dump out the used coffee grounds from the previous day on my blueberry bushes, so that's what that is. Raspberries are also doing well. You can see I have cleaned this whole area up, mulched a lot of it. There's still some plants that are popping up in between the mulch, stuff that I hadn't fully gotten out, but the raspberries are looking great. And I am starting to get a few flower buds on that, so we're going to start to see some raspberries pretty soon too. Let's talk about these veggie beds. This is exciting. So this first bed here, I'm trying something new this year. This is wheat. Specifically, it's a decorative wheat called Black Eagle that has makes the wheat seeds have the awns, which is sort of like the hairy spiky things that come off of the wheat grains. They're black, so it's like black and white, and it's really cool looking. You can eat it, but it's really grown more for decorative purposes. I am hoping to have my own homegrown wheat on my Lunasa altar this year, and maybe a few grains going into the bread that we make just you know, for funsies. The other side over here is spinach. This is literally just a bunch of spinach seed that I gathered from my spinach plants last year. I had no idea whether any of it would be viable or not. Obviously, a lot of it was. I literally just tossed handfuls out, and that's why you see a lot of really weird, irregular sprouting on this. So I'm probably going to have to rearrange some of this. There's also, look at this, a whole bunch of tomato seedlings that are popping up here. So that's going to need to be taken out because I already have my tomatoes in the cold frame ready to go out. This is where my tomatoes are going to go this year. I try to rotate between these two beds that get more sun for my tomatoes so they're not growing in the same spot, and therefore any pests or diseases that may have been from the previous year have a harder time getting to it this year. So what I do have in here right now is mostly radishes that are looking pretty well. And of course there's weeds, there's always weeds. This side is carrots. The carrots are, The seed was kind of old on the carrots, so yeah, we'll see. There is some marjoram at the far back that I bought from the local nursery, and I also forgot to mention I have some summer savory over on this bed too. So this bed with the wheat and the spinach eventually is going to be broomcorn and maybe a pumpkin. We'll see. And then, like I mentioned, the tomatoes are going to go over here along with my peppers. And usually I put zucchini with them as well. Oh, and I got ground cherries this year, physalis. So that's going to be a new one for me. It'll be exciting to see what happens with that. You can see my parsley in this bed is bolting. There are peas growing next to the parsley along this little fenced netting here. My perennial scallions are blooming right now. And then I have some little baby. Oh, I think some of them got 8. Hang on, where are you? There you are. They're getting a little 8. But I do have some baby broccoli plants out here. And then lots of lettuce. And these 2 really big ones, the big oak leaf lettuce, are actually ones that seeded from last year and I just left them. The other ones are ones I planted this year. So lettuce is coming in nicely. This last bed is supposed to be asparagus. It's making me sad. Oh, hang on. I'm less sad now. So this is the only asparagus that I had. The frickin' beetle on there. Asparagus beetles. I need to come out here and get those. This right here is the only asparagus that I had that survived my son's little weeding project. So I bought a bunch of new asparagus, and I had not seen any until this right here, right now. Boop, boop, boop. That is a baby asparagus. Now this is a purple asparagus that I bought this year. Now here's another one that's popping up, and something snapped it. It's freaking squirrels. So yes, the first year you plant asparagus, you cannot harvest anything from it. The second year after you plant asparagus, you can get teensy little bit, maybe enough to serve one meal. That's it. The third year after you plant asparagus is when you can actually freely harvest from the bed. So it's going to be a couple years before I get any asparagus out of this bed, but I will wait patiently. So, and you can see my strawberries are blooming like crazy. They're doing really well over here. I do have something I want to point out over here. This is an older one. I need to make a bunch of new ones. That's a little strawberry stone. So the idea behind those is it's literally just a roundish pebble that's painted to look like a strawberry. And the idea is you put those out before the strawberries actually fruit. And the birds see that red thing under the strawberry plants, and they come and they try to eat it, and it's just a rock and they can't. And it teaches the birds that when they see red things under the strawberry plants, it is inedible. I don't know how well it works. I think the birds are too smart for it, but I still try, you know. I still try. So I might make a few more of those. They've slowly just, they get buried under the dirt and mulch, and sometimes when I'm weeding, I'll find a new one, dig it up. I've only found 2 of them this year, but anyway, it was worth a try. Let's go back over here. Look at the other side here. I want to show you my cold frame. This is about the nicest my cold frame is going to look all year. I got a lot of stuff here in the cold frame. Oh, and also next to the cold frame here, this is a native grass here. It's called Panicum. Panicum virginiana, something like that. It's the Shenandoah cultivar. So this is a native grass that grows here in Virginia. It has spread very nicely, fills in this area, kind of makes it so that I don't have to mow right up next to my stuff here. Behind it, there's like a little narrow strip of dirt. I have planted some sunflowers there. There's just a couple little baby seedlings that are starting to pop up, but hopefully I'll see more of those. And then this right here is a Caryopteris, which is another really nice flowering plant. And of course I have a lemon balm. I always have lemon balm popping up everywhere. It's a thug. It's going to be dug out, but I'm going to wait until I'm ready to harvest it. So, cold frame, it looking amazing. In the back, as always, are my mandrakes. I have 4 right now in various stages of growth. They have overwintered. They basically live in this cold frame. At some point, they're going to get too big to live in here, and I'll have to move them over to the north side of the house where they kind of get shade there. But they are very happy here, so I'm trying to keep them here. You can see my tomatoes. These are tomatoes I started from seed, It is a cultivar that is less common. One I got from Victory Seeds is called the Bisignano. It's an Italian ox heart tomato. It's delicious. It's a indeterminate, multi-purpose. You can use it for sauce, you can use it for fresh eating. Like it's kind of like the perfect all-around tomato for my purposes. So that's the one I'm growing. This is a new one. Some of them are not super happy about being moved outside, but we'll see how they do. That's Roselle, which is the hibiscus. It's the edible hibiscus, the hibiscus flowers that you use to make like hibiscus tea, sorrel tea, jamaica, all of those things. That's what I'm hoping to plant over on that one bed over by my roses. Over here I have 4 of my peppers. These are the Melrose peppers, which is named after Melrose Park, Illinois. It's a Italian horn pepper, sort of like a banana pepper, but like it's a sweet long pepper. So used for making peppers and eggs in the Chicago area, very popular, and I'm hoping to get some of those. I've been very excited, finally got them this year. I have a few lupins here, and then behind them is a couple little garlic chives that are sprouted, so we'll see. I did get a Rex begonia this year. Look at that. It's the escargot Rex begonia. And then back here is a whole bunch of little seedlings that are going to need to go out. So I have some catnip back there. I have some calendula. I have my other peppers, which are the jalapenos. This right here is that physalis I told you about. I have some clary sage. These are coxcomb, celosia. So yeah, lots of stuff that's just kind of waiting. I'm waiting for it to get big enough to go out. So. All right, herb bed over here. You can see my my spearmint. Okay, so my spearmint here. This is actually a spearmint that my neighbor had planted next to our property line, and I moved over here because it's a nicer spearmint than the one I originally had. I think it might be the Kentucky Kernel cultivar, but I really don't know. I just co-opted it from my neighbor. So the spearmint can grow under the deck. It can grow that way. It cannot grow into the rest of the bed. That is the truce that we have. It doesn't follow it, but I just rip it out mercilessly. So, and you can see my chives. I'm in the shade. Seeing my shadow here. See, my chives are blooming. They're doing really well. It's looking, it has a little bit of transplant shock, but it's doing okay. That's one of my moonflowers back there. I got 3 this year. I planted 4 seeds. I had 4 seeds that I was pretty sure were viable. I got 3, so yay for that. This fennel right here is just a permanent part of my bed. It comes back every single year. I usually only harvest the fronds from it and sometimes the seeds. But this one fennel just keeps coming back again and again and again. I did plant a few baby fennel down here, which it's probably really hard to see in the weedy mess that's there, but they are there. I also have this, which I think is another one of those, hollyhock. I had no, I mean, I remembered planting hollyhocks out here. I only had the one that popped up. I thought the other one was goner, but there it apparently is. So. This is my sage that overwintered. This is the first year sage has ever overwintered for me. I'm very excited about that. And you can see it's actually blooming, which is like blowing my mind. It's never happened for me before, so that's a very exciting development. The thyme also overwintered really well, so that's also very exciting. And then as you can see, this hollyhock is getting big. It's going to make flowers for me this year. The other one, probably not. Hollyhocks are usually biennial. But I'll have at least one hollyhock that will bloom for me this year. This is my second moonflower. This is actually in the same place as the moonflower from last year. So that whole deck is going to be covered in them. Next to it is my Anisisop, which did come back. Another very exciting development. I have tried to grow Anisisop many times and it's always grown, but it never came back. This is the first time it's ever come back for me. So it obviously likes this spot. And then this little empty spot right here, it looks like just bare dirt. I am hoping, I planted a licorice plant there. I'd had licorice on the other side. It always came back, but it never did well. So I'm hoping that it likes this spot better. So I moved it over here. And then of course, this is the original troublemaker. This is the lemon balm that actually gets to stay in my garden. Yeah, the one that just spreads itself everywhere else. So You can see the two mullein behind my rose plant are massive right now. They're definitely going to make a flower spike for me. Rose has been pruned. It's, you know, it's in the shade, so it's not as happy to be there, but it's fine because the one that's in the sun is an aggressive monster. So this one in the shade is very well behaved and it can stay there. This is another thing that's really cool here. Let me get a good look at that. So you can see the flowers on this. They're almost there. This is the Cheonanthus. It is a native tree here in the United States, here in Virginia. It's Cheonanthus virginiana. It's also called fringe tree, and you can kind of see why. I'm looking at these flowers. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous little tree. Not a very large tree. Usually only gets to about 20 feet. Mine is pretty close to that maximum size. You can see how windy it is. Good gracious. It's actually in the olive family, and those little fringes will make fruits that look a lot like olives. They are not edible for us humans, but the birds love them. So this is a new one out here. It's looking sad because transplant shock, but it'll be fine. This is ginger. I was growing this in my kitchen, and it definitely outgrew the pot that I had it in. It had to go outside, so you know, this little spike has died back, but the others are looking okay. Ginger likes it hot, but it doesn't like it super sunny, so I find that dappled shade is usually the best for me to grow it in. It's I've grown it outside before, and it's always done really well. You just got to harvest it when that frost hits. And then right here you can see moonflower number 3. So there we go. Eventually I'm going to get a winter savory, which is the perennial savory, and put it over here. And then I want to get another Buddleia to balance out the one on the other side of the deck, which is over here. I had to prune it back pretty hard, so, but it's popping back up. It's still there, so we'll see what happens. You can see my rue plant. I pruned back my rue kind of hard too. I probably should have pruned it back earlier and harder, but you know, it is what it is. I always seem to mistime these things, but it's looking really good. And then there's also several smaller rue plants, because this really big one is reaching kind of close to the end of its lifespan. I'm not surprised it's gonna die off on me sometime in the next couple of years. Look at my Lunaria. I had struggled to grow Lunaria in the past. Obviously it liked this spot. Because look at all these, like, all the times I've seen pictures of Lunaria, I've only ever seen the seed pods, which you can see here. You know, it makes those big round coin looking seed pods that eventually turn sort of that silvery white color and looks like a moon, which is where it gets that name. But look at how pretty the flowers are. That's so cute. And it blooms really early in the year too. So it's a really nice little plant. So yeah, I'm very excited by that one. This is my ebb tide rose. You can see it's filling in a little bit. So I don't see any flower buds on it yet, but I'm sure it'll make some eventually. You can see, oh, look at that. There is that's a maple tree growing up in my Sanguisorba here. Hang on. There we go. And there's another one. Nope, that's actually the one I want to keep. So this is the Greater Burnet or Sanguisorba. I don't really talk much about this plant. It's kind of an interesting plant. Yeah. As you can guess from the name, Sanguisorba, it was used as sort of like a, to stop bleeding. So, traditional medicinal use there. I do have a peony here that I planted in front of it that has popped up. I'm very excited about that. This is one I had in the front yard, and it was kind of struggling and didn't really like that spot, so I moved it back here, and it seems to be quite happy, and even has tiny little flower bud on it, so it will bloom for me. It's a dwarf peony, so it only gets to about 2.5 feet tall. It makes red flowers. It's very nice. I have no idea what peony it is. It's one my mom gave me. So, and you can see my my chamomile here has been cleared out. The amelanchier that used to be in there is just dead and gone. It's a goner. But chamomiles keep on keeping on. All right, now we're gonna get into the parts that I haven't cleaned up yet. It's a hot, weedy mess. So, oh, I should also talk about this too. So my apple tree here, you can see this one is done blooming. It's already starting to set some little baby apples. A lot of little baby apples. I am currently in the middle of planting a new bed under this tree. The main reason being is that my kid, who is the one who does the mowing of the lawn for me, has bitterly complained about getting slapped in the face by the branches of this apple tree from having to mow underneath it. So I said, well, I can fix that, and we're just building a new bed under there that will not require any mowing, so they won't have to mow under the tree and get slapped in the face quite so much. So most of this stuff is still need to be cleared out. You can kind of over there see where I've kind of demarcated the edge. That little string that you see around the trunk is actually what I'm using as a compass to determine where the edge of the bed is. So it's a perfect equidistant circle with the trunk at the center. And I do actually have, this is a weed, this is a weed, but I have this little plant here, and this one here, and this one here that I've already planted out there. I found them in the areas where I was weeding out my other beds. That is 2 vervain and a comfrey. So they're going to fill in that spot. The comfrey is going to go all the way around the trunk. So that will be a good companion to the apple because it'll drop some nutrients from deeper in the soil than the apple roots actually run. Bring them up into the leaves of the comfrey and then die back every year as a green mulch. And yeah, it'll be really good. So the other 2 apples are also pretty much done. This one gave me a few more blooms than the other one did. There's like a couple petals left on it, but really not all that much. The other thing that is pretty much done blooming here is my viburnum. You can see all the petals falling on the ground here. So this thing has just gotten incredibly massive as well. There is some dead branches I gotta prune out of here, but for the most part, like, I've just let this thing do its own stuff. So looking in the back there, you can see that my oak leaf hydrangea has come back, and it looks like it might even make some flowers for me. My baptisia is popping back up as well. There is also a mulberry tree I'm gonna have to pull out, and then my aster is going insane, and that's gonna have to be cut back a little bit too. Sweetgrass is still here. It's kind of just sporadically spread. There's like a big clump of it right here, and then other little clumps of it throughout here that are kind of interspersed with other grass that I have to pull out. Those are my Tate daffodils. Narcissi. I'm sorry, it's not a daffodil, it's just a narcissi. I am planning on digging those up when that foliage finishes dying down, and then you know, taking some of those bulbs and putting them under that apple tree as well, probably like around the edge to kind of demarcate the edge, because that is a good naturalizer bulb. It spreads like crazy. I actually dug up a bunch of the narcissi a couple years ago. You can't even tell I dug it up because it's just filled in again. So lots of weeds, lots of weeds. There's lots of mullein popping up over here too, which is fine. You know, I'll make use for it. I did have my my gooseberry came back, so that's exciting. Blackberry is doing its thing. Gonna have to be pruned. That's not a job that I relish, but it has to be done. This is my pink peony, the one that I moved out from a more shady spot. It definitely is happier over here. Still hasn't made any flowers for me, but at least it's making more foliage, so, you know, maybe next year, we'll see. Lots of weeds. Oh, and blackberries popping up in here too. Hey, look at that! It's my first rose of the year. That's my Penelope rose. And then this is my Festiva Maxima peony, and this thing is gonna bloom like crazy this year. Look at all those buds. That's insane. So that one's gonna be... Alright, more stuff I haven't cleaned over here. You can see my pots. Horseradish is doing well. Lavender is coming back. Sage that I had in the pot is dead. That's just weeds in there. That is my lemon verbena. I moved that out from the cold frame recently, and it's doing well. The hyssop is doing amazing. The rosemary is also nearly dead and full of weeds. So, rosemary, and I don't think I'm going to plant another sage in the pot since I have the one on the ground that's doing so well. I'll figure out something else to put in there. We'll see. Alright, so here is more area. The last section of the garden, this is more stuff that needs to be cleared out, of course. But there's some exciting stuff here. So you can see my yarrow has come back. This space is empty. I need to figure out what I'm going to put there. We'll see. I'm sure I'll think of something. This stuff right here looks very... doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's great. I'm very excited to see it, and it's spreading very well. That's arnica. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. Mine is the can't remember whether it's the Arnica chamasonesis or Arnica montana, but gosh, I should look that up. This is another one that I was excited about. Let me step on my little stepping stone here. This thing right here. This is Angelica. We're going to have a video on this plant sometime this year. Now I have the, what is it? There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Angelica plants here, which is super exciting. It did seed itself there. I had an Angelica there a couple of years ago. I put a bunch of seed down. I didn't think it was ever going to come back, and now I have 5 of them. And 2 of them it looks like are probably going to flower this year. So, this is not the European Angelica. European Angelica is Angelica archangelica. This is a native North American Angelica. It's called Angelica atropurpurea, or purple-stemmed Angelica. You can very clearly see why it gets the name. But it has pretty much the same properties otherwise. It's a lovely little plant. Supposedly this atropurpurea will sometimes be perennial. I have never had it be perennial for me. So, and you can see amongst the weeds here, there's also some foxglove popping up. I also have my elders getting ready to bloom. I never did prune this thing. There's another thing that I meant to do and never got around to. So I'm going to wait until after it flowers and then prune it back. So there's another one that's blooming right here. That's my Solomon seal. This is the variegated Solomon seal, which is a Japanese cultivar. Not the native North American one, but it's a pretty little plant, and it's not super aggressive. So, comfrey is popping up. Already looking better than it did last year, because last year it was kind of pokey. This year it looks pretty good. I also have so much agrimony popping up here amongst the this one right here, that's marshmallow, and then the rest of these are all agrimony that's seeded itself everywhere. I came out here and I picked up all the seed that I could, and I still have like a slew of them popping up, so yay, I guess. Yay. Hang on, let me go back around this way. So I do have the little wormwood that came back. It's the little wormwood that could. That's exciting. I also have a couple motherwort that came back. This is the Leonura cardiaca. This is the Groba Bulls cultivar, which has more of like a curly kind of leaf to it. I have a couple little tansies over here. So there's the one big one and then a couple little smaller ones. I'm probably going to move some of that out. I don't think it's super happy back here. It's too shady for tansy. But the mugwort is completely unperturbed. It is coming back very well, as it does every year. So coming back over this way, you can see my hydrangea also came back. So, and then my gardenias as well are looking pretty good. There's, you know, there's some yellowing leaves on it where it got a little frost tinged. I did not cover them up with the burlap this year. We honestly didn't get all that cold, so didn't even bother to cover them up, and they're doing fine. So scoot around you. Somewhere in this weedy mess, you can see my this is my lungwort. So this is not the showy cultivar lungwort. This is just the basic one that I grew from seed, which is why it doesn't look super fancy, but it's nice. It's already done blooming. It starts blooming in January. It's way ahead of the curve. The one that is blooming here, I'm very excited about. This is anemone. Anemone, I want to say it's the anemone blonda. This is the rhizome anemone, not the bulbing one. So it was planted in this empty spot here. I was worried that it got trampled down to nothing when they redid my crawl space, because they trampled over literally everything in that spot. But it's growing back up around the edges again, so hopefully it'll fill back in that spot eventually. And then I do have a really nice purple Pallas euchera back there, and a couple of hostas. There's just little hostas sprinkled all throughout my yard, many of which I've gotten from my mom, because she has a lot of hostas. She has a yard that is very good for hostas. Oh, I forgot to mention, man, you can see them through here. Next to my little elder there, I do have my valerian that is also starting to send up some flower stalks. And then way back in the corner there, you can see the leaves of the bloodroot, and then some of it. It's set up some seed pods this year. I actually missed the flowers. I didn't even come out and see the flowers. So it's Speaking of hosta, here's another one. This is Halcyon, which is a really nice miniature blue hosta that is right in front of my hellebores, which are getting ready to spread some seed here. Look at those seed pods. Nice fat seed pods. And then I have some astilbe in here as well. Another fucking mulberry popping up, god damn it. Flowering quince is done flowering. There's also a couple of willow oaks in here that need to be dug out. Cool, that's great. That's gonna be a lot of work. Yeesh. This is where the bulk of my ajuga is. You can see here, it's just like a sea of blue right now. You can also see the pond is nicely set up. I cleaned it a few days ago, so it's looking gorgeous. Looking gorgeous. It needs a little more water in it. When I had cleaned out the pond and filled it up, the forecast was for rain, like straight rain for the next 3 days, solid. And they were saying like, yeah, you might get a couple inches of rain. And I'm like, cool, then I'll leave the pond a couple inches short. And then it didn't rain. So now I gotta come out with the hose, I guess. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to scoop out some of these flower petals and stuff. But yeah, this is as clean as the pond is gonna get. Look at that you can see all the way down to the bottom on that thing. And then of course I have my little meadow sweet here next to my little statue. I plan on putting some watercress in that little crack there under the waterfall. I do have my bloody sorrel is here, including a couple of ones that I picked up out of my vegetable beds that shouldn't have been there. And then more hostas, of course. This is the Hosta Plantagenea. This is my favorite. It's one of the oldest cultivars of hosta. Not very showy compared to some of the other hostas, but the flowers are fragrant and delicious. Speaking of fragrant and delicious flowers, you can see my Weigela is blooming as well. This is a crazy bee magnet. It's actually like covering up my bench where you can't even sit comfortably on the bench by the pond because there's so much of the Weigela in the way. But after it's done blooming, I'll come out and prune that. I don't want to ruin the flowers right now. No. And then I have my Lily of the Valley under here, which one of them is getting ready to bloom. It is just like a delight for the senses right here with the sound of the water running and the smell of the flowers. And yeah, it's great. This thing is also like spread like crazy. Look at all that woodruff. Look at it. It's just all over the place. And I am stoked. I'm here for it. Yeah. So. And then, of course, in the pond itself, you can see that's my water lily. It's got a bunch of little baby leaves on it that are going to pop up. And then I do have a sweet flag as well. This variegated sweet flag, Acorus calamus, which also is got a lot of growth on it. And then, of course, I got the awkward corner there. I still need to figure out what I'm going to put in this corner. I don't know. I tried to plant a bear's britches here. What's the name of it? It starts with an A. God bless it. Anyway, it didn't take. It didn't take. So I'm still on the market for something to fill in that hole. And then of course I have this stupid rose that I can't get rid of, and I'm just leaning into it now. So yep. Peppermint also popping up here. That's gonna have to be pulled out a lot. I always got to rip out a lot of that peppermint, but I usually wait until it gets a little bigger so I can use it, like dry whatever I rip out and save it. So yeah, this, like I said, was a bit of a longer video, but went in a little more detail of all the things. There's so many things right now. There's also a lot of work here, a lot of stuff to be cleaned up. Look at all this clover, it's ridiculous. So all this stuff needs to be cleaned out. Maybe get some mulch down of some sort, I don't know. I'd like to get some more plants to fill in some of these spaces, but I don't even know what would be successful. I'd have to look. I have a whole folder where I have like all the ideas of things that I want, like wish lists for plants and stuff like that. So I'll have to look at those wish lists and be like, oh yeah, that's right, I did want to fill in the blank, you know. But, you know, like off the top of my head like this, I'm always like, I don't know, whoa. So, anyway, lots of work to be done. But it's good work. It's my favorite work. So, anyway, let's finish out on this little Lunaria again, because I'm super excited about that. There we go. That's it. That's all I got. So, yep. I hope this video finds you well, and I will see you again soon.